Okay, I think, do we have someone watching? Let's see. Yeah, we got someone. after 9 minutes of sitting here alone. Yes, I think this is the problem with the members only Q&A right now. We've got like 105 members, but yeah, it's yeah, obviously not a high percentage are going to be online at one time. I don't know what a pop shove is, but it sounds like a cool move. Let's okay, 2 people. Now we're rolling. The popularity right now is really it's getting crazy. Okay, I'm gonna just not type and respond here. Yeah, so yeah, I think only like 10% of the members right now have synced with the Discord. So we've got 105 members, and I think we've got like 14 on the members Discord. So I've posted it like 5 times. Like you guys, granted, the first 2 times I didn't totally understand how to do it. So people had issues with it, but yeah, I mean, yeah. So all you gotta do, you go to Discord, sync it with your YouTube account, and it should be there. Just pop right in, and you should get access. Yes, good, Jan, excellent. Yeah. Okay. I don't know how to say this, but Satani Kazlupus. I don't know which parts are like, where to separate that name. But he says, I would think people would want to use it as a forum since it seems like a good resource. Yeah. Yeah, I think at some point when probably when the channel grows another order of magnitude, honestly, it'll be good to get like a Reddit going and like have a real like forum as well. But yeah, a lot of people mentioned the Discord, like that it would be a good idea. And yeah, I'm starting to really see the value of it, even though both the general channel and the members only channel right now have been fairly inactive. I really love like the other day I sent a message on the general Discord like, hey, like I'm in Berlin, like is anyone in Berlin? And like I can't really do that on YouTube. Like it'd be a different thing, like to have a like conversation with people, yeah, so it's not as active as would be nice yet, but it's definitely a really good tool. And as it gets there, as we get more people, as it gets more active, I think it will be very interesting. Let me get my AirPods. That should be a little bit of a better microphone here. Okay, so I can link to the Discord server. I could link to both, but the link to the members server isn't really going to do anything, I think. Because if you're a member, then you have to sync it, and if you're not a member, then it won't let you do anything with the link. And that was the problem we were having before. I was sending everyone the link, like, here's the members only one, here's the general one, and the members were saying like, oh, we can't, this isn't working, you know. And yeah, the problem is, and the solution is, you have to just go into your account and sync with YouTube, and that will automatically do it. um, okay, let's see. And then you guys can tell me if the audio gets any better. It shouldn't yet because it's not actually connected. Check, check, check. Check, check, check. Test, test, test. That should be a little better. How's this? Check, 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 check. Check, check, check. Yeah. Okay. Well, good to know. Good to know. Good to know. Yeah. This is a little impromptu setup, but I hate the. I like getting the good quality stuff for you guys. I've got the cameras. I've got, granted, I don't have the tripods because Air Canada lost my luggage, so I'm a little limited with that. But I figured, like, hey, um, let's just start up a stream and see how that goes. See if you guys have any questions. Okay, let me send the link for the server. Okay. That's for the general server. For the member server, again, just go to your Discord account and sync it with the YouTube account that you have the channel membership with, and that should do it. All right, guys, ask me some questions. Hit me. And while you do that, someone just asked for the. Actually, I can just post it in Discord. Can I? Okay. Where's our questions at? You're from Germany. So I'm from California. I was born in San Jose, and yeah, I'm still, well, right now I'm actually in Germany. I'm in Berlin for B12. Um, and fuck, man, it's awesome here. It's wonderful. Um, I'm loving B12. I'm loving Berlin. Um, it's great. Yeah, great teachers, great dancers here. I love the public transit. Awesome. Um, okay, moving questions. Hello, Lucas. Um, how quickly does skill acquisition fade? How soon do you need to surf again before you really start to lose it? Um, Great question. Um, so here's the thing with this. Um, it is extremely variable. Um, and the thing that um, I think a lot of people don't realize when they talk about this stuff, like even a lot of the experts, when they let me close the window here so we have less noise. So even a lot of experts, when they talk about like how much you need to maintain a skill and like strength skill or motor skill or language, whatever, it it depends on what you're doing day to day. Like they don't somehow they forget about this, and so and how how much overlap there is between what you're doing on a day to day basis and like how demanding that is of the systems you use for whatever skill that you want to retain or you're thinking about retaining. So, like for instance, um, if you okay, so great example. So a lot of people in movement culture will talk about how like, oh, I got my one arm handstand, and now like I never need to train it again. And like here's me doing it, and I haven't touched it in like a year. Here's me doing it. It's not as good as it was, but like here's my one arm handstand for the first time in six that I've touched it in 6 months. Well, if you haven't been training one arm handstands and static one arm handstands, or even static handstands, but you've been training cartwheels and loading your hands and shifting weight onto your hands frequently, regularly, often every day, actually there's quite a bit of transfer between those two, like the dynamic balancing on the hands and the static balancing on the hands. So yeah, like you could theoretically, uh, I won't, I'll try not to give exact numbers, but however much you can maintain a handstand is dramatically longer and better retention if you're doing those cartwheels and other things where you're loading the arms in similar ways, right? And going over the arms in similar ways. Versus if you look at the retention of that one arm handstand, if I put you on bed rest for forget a year, but like 6 weeks, good fucking luck, Forget 6 weeks, 2 weeks of bed rest, Like no chance. I really don't think like yeah, it's and after 2 weeks of bed rest, like you might start to have the hard time standing up, you know. So if we say so, that's why like people will say like if they give like a hard number of like you can retain a skill for whatever number of time. Well, it depends. Like, are you heavily exercising? Are you training hard in other ways demanding those systems? Are you training light demanding those other systems? Are you, you know, doing your day job and like walking on the side and like, doing a little work around the house? Or are you like extremely sedentary, couch potato? Or are you full on bed rest slash like astronaut with no like exercise equipment, right? Like those are dramatically different scenarios, and like in each of those, you're going to retain whatever you've learned as far as attributes at like a much different level, you know? So and actually, you asked about retaining skills. So um, so there is, of course, an overlap, right? When we're talking, I guess, about physical skills, there's an overlap between like the motor skill side of it and the physical capacity to perform it, right? Like one arm handstand is very much a skill. It's not a like how strong is your arm thing. It's a how skilled are you at balancing there. And yet, if you don't like maintain a certain level of that loading in similar positions or similar loads in similar positions, you won't be able to apply that skill, right? Like it won't matter because you can't do it. Like your joints will be too sensitive, you know. So there's definitely an overlap there. And this concept, right? Like I use the general terms. I like using general terms because then you guys can take these principles and apply it to different things, right? That's why this rehab video, I didn't say here's what to do for a back injury. Here's what to do for like a disc. Here's what to do for like a low back injury. Here's what to do for like a T spine injury. Here's what to do for a cervical spine injury. Here's what to do for like golfer's elbow. Here's what to, like it'd be a never ending list, right? And in each of those, like for each person, still would have different things. So hence, what I gave you guys was like, what are the concepts we can use for all of these things, right? Um, and I will get you guys the exercises. We'll work on that so you have more of like, what tools you can use. So you have the outline of how to use the toolbox, and you have here are the tools I can use. Um, but still, like, you don't need me to tell you what the tools are. You can really find them out for yourself. You can really just test them. Um, Yeah, but so the same idea with skills as I was just talking about with like attribute retention is like how much are you thinking about that skill, right? Like in the imagery video, I talked about how like I took 6 months off from jiu-jitsu, but I improved as much as my friends had because I was working on static apnea every day. And when I was doing the static apnea, I was doing imagery of jiu-jitsu. So I was doing a lot of imagery, a lot of working those mental systems of jiu-jitsu. And again, I made more progress than some of my friends that were training regularly while I was out, you know? Granted, I was also doing my movement training, right? And I was doing a lot of rail work at the time. And one of the first things people said when I came back was like, "Oh, you have like really good base." And that was when people started saying that had really good like base is what jiu-jitsu people call balance, basically. Um, so there was maybe some transfer there. And again, I wasn't like being a couch potato, but like the big thing was like the mental systems of the skill were still active, even though I wasn't actually doing the thing. So, like, if you're not surfing, again, but like you're imaging yourself surfing, you're thinking about surfing, you're watching videos about surfing, you know, that that stuff helps. It helps a lot, Again, like not, not too many of you have watched the imagery video, which is a damn shame because it was like I put a lot of work into that one, and there's a lot of good stuff there. There's some really good stuff in that. Um, And I think part of it was like I made it sound like I was like quoting the book for the middle section when the reality was like I had like paraphrased and like took different things from their chapter and like I melded things together. Anyway, um, so yeah, so how long, back to the actual question, how soon do you need to surf again before you really start to lose it? Yeah, it totally depends, dude. Like, you could not surf and just image yourself surfing and not only not lose it, but like make progress, right? And so not just imagery, but like maybe you watch videos, like that's another thing I used to do all the time was like I would watch this is not a good like this is bad sleep advice, but I would watch like John Danaher videos all the fucking time, like just all the time, like to go to sleep every night, like for months, like listening to John Danaher, months if not years. Um, and so, and when you're doing that, like I was seeing and learning different solutions, things that I didn't know, right? So that's really important, really powerful. And again, like if you're not surfing, but like someone and I, yeah, if someone knows who this person is, or if there is such a person, um, again, like similar to Danaher in the surfing world, I doubt it. But if there was, and he's got some videos on like surfing techniques and like when to do which things, like if you can find those, watch them, and learn things that are going to change how you surf when you come back, not only will you not lose it, like you would probably improve, you know? Um, Granted that your physical conditioning doesn't decay, right? Again, like, or it doesn't decay to a large degree. So then it depends, right? You're not surfing, but you're training and like lifting and doing your movement training, doing mobility, all this, or are you being like a couch potato and like physically, you know, destroying yourself, right? Like, those are very different scenarios. So it all depends. Um, the big thing is if you're in a situation where you're not doing something and you want to improve at it, like demand those systems, right? So think like, what if any of those physical systems are limiting, right? So for me, for surfing, pretty much none, honestly. Like, it really isn't physically limited at all. I'm stronger than, pretty much any surfer. um, and yet still bad at it, let's be clear. But like the problem wasn't strength, you know um nor was it really mobility. So I don't need to worry about like how strong am I going to be for surfing and like maintaining that, um the same way I would for like, let's see, I want to say jiu-jitsu, but uh, okay, I'll just say jiu-jitsu, like, because again, jiu-jitsu isn't limited by strength, but like strength is helpful. And so like in lack of a better example that isn't just like powerlifting, um, yeah, like in jiu-jitsu, if I was just doing imagery but I wasn't training, like I would have to worry about like, oh, I'm not maintaining my strength and like physical capacities, you know? But surfing, all I would need to do is just imagery and okay, imagery and see, are there things I can learn without like being able to surf right now, you know? Um, but yeah, like, but the other thing is like, you have to think about like the directions you ask the questions in, and like the directions you think, like even internally. And so like, um, I think how soon do I need to do something again before I really start to lose it is probably a bad direction to think in, is more like how important is this thing to you, and if it's important, um, then do it, like find a way to do more of it and work on it as much as you can. And yeah, if it isn't, then it's okay to let it go a little. But yeah. Okay. Lucas says, do you think diet is an important factor on recovering from an injury? Yeah, absolutely. Um, so I've got this thing. It's a Whoop. You guys have probably seen it in a bunch of videos. I wear it all the time. Um, and so it tracks. I've been using this one for quite a while. Um, geez, since I think like 2015. No, it's been at least 5 years. Um, and so what's really nice about it is it tracks heart rate 24/7, and it tracks sleep, and it tracks HRV and sleep stages fairly well. So you can use those to get a good idea of like how recovered you are. And one of the things I notice, like how recovered you are on each day, right? Like after you wake up, like how essentially like what level of quality was your sleep at? And one of the things I've noticed over the there's a lot of things I've noticed over the years because there's been so much data at this point. But one of the things I've noticed is like training doesn't screw up your recovery that much. Like it really doesn't take that much out of it. What does really destroy your recovery and those metrics is like any alcohol at night, like will just crush those metrics. And second to that is diet. Like a big cheat meal late at night will just crush those numbers. Your resting heart rate goes up, HRV will go down. You'll still sleep a lot, but like just the quality of that sleep will be so much lower. Deep sleep is way less. REM sleep is way less. Um, yeah, and then you just wake up feeling like shit. So your glycogen will be full. So there's some things that will help with, if you're powerlifting or something. But like it's important, and so again, like if we think of pain as this cup, right? I think I explained this in the pain science part one. Um, I hope I explained this in pain science part one. If we think of pain as a cup, right? And so everything, or imagine there's a cup, right? And so everything goes into this cup, like all of the environmental context, like what's going on inside your body, like what level of tissue damage is there, um, where are you, how comfortable do you feel in that place? Are you hungry? Are you tired? Are you stressed? Like all of these things go into that cup. And then the thing is, pain is what we kind of get when that cup is overfilled, right? When it overflows. And so sleep deprivation is like a big part of that cup. So even at a at an acute level, right? Anytime you sleep less, things are going to be more painful, right? Like there's things that even real aren't real injuries, right? Things that don't have real tissue damage, like are going to start to hurt more. Like, maybe things that weren't hurting at all with less sleep, right? So with good sleep, vice versa, everything feels better, you know? Um, and then, of course, like better sleep drives better adaptation. So, um, yeah, and yeah, diet plays a huge role with sleep. And then separately from sleep, right? It's just all these things of like um, having proper like protein intake and like timing of that. Like we know that leads to better outcomes with like gaining muscle, and like there's no reason why like tendons should be any different, like it's going to be similar. Um, and while for rehab we don't need to change tissues, like I do see that a little bit as like the holy grail of rehab is like we have not just desensitized the injury, we have physically changed the tissues, you know, and that's way harder than people think or talk about. But happen. Like it's very possible. Like we know tendons can thicken and ligaments thicken and like every tissue of the body can adapt, you know? Um, yeah. Jan says, what device do you use to track your sleep? When do you have your last meal before you go to bed? Um, this one's called a Whoop. I think it's the Whoop 4.0 now. Um, yeah, not sponsored. I should reach out to them because I really have been using them for a long time, and I think really highly of it actually for a lot of reasons. Um, yeah, that's what I use for sleep, and it also tracks just like activity as well, and not just like steps, but like heart rate, and it gives you like a strain score, so it gives you this like assessment. Because think of like if you were just give someone a score of like how demanding their training was based on just like their average heart rate, like you can't really do that, right? Like it'd be very different to spend 5 minutes at your max heart rate versus like 10 minutes at like 80% of your max heart rate. You know, like the 5 minutes at max heart rate is going to be way more demanding. And so they give a strain score that like takes that stuff into account, and is quite nice. Um, yeah, you have to use it in a certain way, right? And so what you don't want to do is like use something like this and like when it gives you like a bad recovery score that you're like, oh, well, like I can't do anything today, gotta cancel training, you know. Um, what you want to use it for, what I use it for, is like targets and like goals of like, okay, how one like tinkering and figuring things out, right? Like I didn't know like geez, this was yeah, a long time ago. This might have been back in college if I remember this right. That like at some point I was like this was when I was back into like the Tim Ferriss stuff. And he was like, talking about like dry red wine and like okay, and I was like, okay, that's cool. So like I got some like dry red wine, okay, Cabernet Sauvignon. I'm not saying that right, but that's okay. And so it's like low sugar content, right? Okay. And for a little while, I was like having some at night. I'd have some, and this is what, some people talk about in literature of like having a glass of wine, like one glass of wine a day or something like that, you know? And then what I saw on the sleep data was like even a little bit of alcohol like that would just like huge dramatic drop in all of the recovery numbers. So that isn't something like that was hard for me to would have been very hard for me to pick up on my own, versus like seeing those numbers is really helpful. And then once you see those numbers, then okay, it's not like I can never do that, but let's really try to avoid it because I know the results are going to be dramatic, you know? Um, so that's how you want to use it. It's not like cancel training every time your recovery isn't good, but like what are the things that cause your recovery to not be good? And how can you reduce those? How can you maximize the things that are going to help your recovery, right? Like shooting for those, figuring out what those are. Um, yeah, that's how you want to use it. So be aware. Um, and when do I have my last meal before I go to bed? I don't really pay too much attention to that. The only thing I kind of eat more when I'm hungry, um, and a lot of it is just kind of logistics lately, because I'm not. Basically, it's about optimal to have meals 4 times a day for body composition, and that's mainly as far as like protein. Um, but I'm not optimizing for body composition like certainly to the degree that I used to like not enough to make a big effort for that. So Yeah, so for me, it's a little more what's going on today. You know, when can I train? When can I eat? When can I fit those things in? And then where and when I eat is more flexible. But what I do pay attention to is like when I have like a cheat meal, then I really try to like have it at least a few hours before I'm going to go to sleep. And I know that if I don't, like it's really going to affect those numbers. And I know sometimes that when I do, like even sometimes I've had like really huge cheat meal, you know, like just like stuff yourself completely. But it's like 5, 6 hours before I go to bed, the numbers are not so bad. You know, they're dramatically better. And so kind of as a rule of thumb, like a little bit the rule of thumb that I've developed is like if I'm going to sleep when I'm like stuffed, that like oh thank you Lucas, that's really nice. Um, so rule of thumb, if I'm going to sleep when I'm stuffed, like that's when I notice that like that's going to have a negative effect on my sleep and recovery, you know? Versus like if the food has digested by then, like when I'm actually going to bed, then I know it's going to be pretty good. So, good rule of thumb. Um, yeah, Satani says, your video about injury recovery was super useful. I dislocated my shoulder 2 weeks ago and I started rehabbing immediately. Back to doing pull-ups and overhead press. Fuck yeah, man. You guys, can you please I should have I was so you guys have no idea how much I refined and removed things from that video. Um, and so one of the and how like precise I was literally like every word. I was like, do I need this word? Do I need this phrase? And I did that over and over and over and over again. Um, and one of the things that I really wanted to have, but didn't quite allocate time for, was like when you guys do your rehab like this, like make some videos of it and like tag me or like message me because like this is so cool. Like this is so awesome. And like yeah, like I know you guys are doing it already. Like this is the I think you're the third success story I've heard from like the directly from the rehab video already. So that is so fucking cool. Like so insanely fucking awesome. I love it. Um, do you have any book recommendations on injury rehab and on primal movements? Um, Greg Lehman has, let me pull this up. He has like it's free actually. It's not quite a book, but yeah, I think, oh, yeah, it's a recovery strategies guidebook. I can actually link this here. So these are really cool. So I would recommend that. Greg Lehman's awesome. Greg Lehman's the one that like I knew about pain science before and like had some understanding of it, but he was the one that really like I really learned it from. Um, and yeah, like he's a big figure in the space and an awesome guy. And yeah, couldn't recommend him more. Um, it's hard to recommend. It's hard to recommend books for this stuff. Um, there is Todd Hargrove's book, A Guide to Better Movement. Um, it's a good book. It's worth reading. I don't agree with all of it, but um, it is a good book for sure, and I definitely appreciated it. I think it's I think he's a smart guy. Um, yeah, and he knows what he's doing, you know. Um, and my book, obviously, and part of this, the reason I was started writing a book is because like I don't think any of the other ones are that great, you know. That's why if they were, I wouldn't have started writing my own. Um, yeah, and on primal movements, no, I don't think there's any good books. There is Overcoming Gravity, but that's not really about movements. It's like calisthenics. So it's still a book, right? So anything like and and I've always had a rule for myself where like with books, I can be very like just impulsive. Like my kind of rule for myself is like if I want a book, I buy it. You know, and I feel good about it because it's like they're books, you know, it's not like a fucking candy. Like they're good for you. And yeah, like the financial investment of a book is like little to nothing um, to the reward and the outsized effect of the knowledge that they can contain, right? And of bringing that forward in your life, of like having the knowledge of these better solutions. So, yeah, and in that vein, you know, Overcoming Gravity, I don't know, it was like $50 or something. It's a pretty big, thick book, but like it's $50. Like it'd be like half an hour of training with like a personal trainer at like 24-hour fitness, you know? Like, yeah, it's worth it to buy the book. Um, yeah, yeah, so it's good to have the books. Um, and for that, just another. Eventually, there's so many projects out there, and I am at this point prioritizing the YouTube channel over the book. Right, that's why the book isn't done. Um, because this has had such an incredible effect on you guys. One, and I see that every day with like the comments you guys are leaving and the messages I'm getting. Like it's insane. Like it's really it's crazy. Um, and yeah, and it's really nice with videos like even this last one, even the rehab video, like it was a little different because it's based on the book, like it's things from the book. But like let's say I spent like 150 hours on it, right? Like and then it's done, you know, versus like the the book is like I think a much larger investment and I pretty much get no return on it, right? Like the video 150 hours max and it's done, it's out, you guys can watch it anytime for free instantly. You finish it, you watch it again, you know, no problem, right? Like the book is it's it's a longer thing, um, and much more demanding on my end, I think. Um, yeah, and maybe much less accessible. I would say much less accessible than the videos are. But so I still want to finish the book. But also the reason I'm talking about this is at some point I would like to, even though I love the videos, and maybe I love the videos so much that I'll just change my mind and not do this. But at some point I have wanted to do a book about like movement, like more generally, more broadly, you know, not just the pain and injuries. So yeah. Um, Fabian says, "Hey, brand new member here. Quick question. I'm currently going through rehab on a couple tendinopathy injuries. How many days per week should I do rehab exercises? Currently doing every other day, quad and tricep tendinopathy. Um, yeah, so it depends. Um, again, like when you train, actually, I might have cut this out of the rehab video, or at least the public one. Um, oh, well, you guys remember, so you can see the first draft. Um, and so the first draft is longer, and you'll see like how, how much slower and how much I cut out. But like, um, I believe at some point I mentioned like that if you do your rehab every other day or like 3 days a week, it gives you a lot more like wiggle room to like fuck up. And then you have your rest day, and then maybe you have, if you're training 3 days a week, maybe there's one time where you have 2 days off, and that buffers you for fuck ups, basically. So, like from that perspective, it can be good, but um, it's significantly slower in a lot of ways. So, like, you're also not going to really know, you're not going to quite like accumulate progress as fast, and you're not going to figure out solutions as fast. That feedback loop, instead of being a 24-hour feedback loop, okay, I did this stuff yesterday, today I feel slightly better, boom, I'm going to do it again, I'm going to change this thing. And yesterday I did like 4 sets, today I'm going to do 5, or yesterday I did 8 reps, today I'm going to do 9, whatever. Running that feedback loop every day, 24-hour cycle, I think is generally better than a 48-hour, 72-hour cycle. You learn faster, you're going to do better. But it doesn't give you the window to fuck up. Like it's not the same buffer, right? So, um, how about this? It doesn't give you the same buffer to fuck up, right? So, for instance, like say you do some rehab and you screw it up, you make it worse. You're training every day, so you do it again, and say you screw up again, you make it worse again, and then the next day you screw up again, you make it worse again. Now you're really in some deeper shit. Now you're really a lot worse off than you were before. Versus you train 3 days a week or every other day, whatever. Now you train once, take a day, you make it worse, take a day off, it recovers a little. You train again, you make it worse, it recovers a little, make it worse, it recovers a little, another rest day, recovers a little more, and that you're maybe like where you started, you know? So again, like that's that buffer zone. It gives you a wider buffer to screw up in. But like you aren't going to learn like as quickly, and you're not going to have the potential to progress as quickly either. So like um, the rehab stuff like I've done, how like dramatically effective that was, and like in the members version where you guys can see like Johnny's rehab, or just watch Johnny's video, Johnny No Knife. Um, you cannot make that sort of progress training 3 days a week. You cannot. Um, so you limit yourself in that way as well. Um, so with that in mind, however much you want, but if you're smart, you're doing well, and you're coordinated, you're in touch with your body, I would suggest every day. Yeah. Okay. Any last questions? Give you guys a minute. Okay. Okay, cool. How's the programming video coming along? I know it was highly requested. Yes. I don't, have I started the script? I have not started the script, but I am close to, and I'm starting to. I've been thinking about it. Um, and yeah, it was highly requested. Before, when I had done one of the polls I did months ago was like with the volume video and like knees over toes guy video, and you guys like overwhelmingly wanted the volume video of like how much to train. And then now with the like programming video versus volume, you guys overwhelmingly wanted programming even more, in the poll and in the comments. So like, yeah, I'm gonna work on it for sure. Um, so I've got the actually it didn't do that well in the polls, but the greatest movement hack or most powerful movement hack in the world, that video is basically done. And that was a fun little short one. I cut it down to 3 minutes now. So hopefully you guys will like that. Um, I think it's important. It's important to talk about. So important things, they to a degree, like I'm gonna put them out whether you guys ask for it or not, because some things are just good to know, and you don't know that you need to know them, because you don't know them, um, but they're still there, and a lot of them, like I can see, and that was one of them. But the programming video, let's see. Oh, I also finished. I've been writing a lot the last few days at B12. So, working a little on the diet video. I finished the script for the 2 hour rehab video. That one is going to be super short. Um, it is 258 words. So if I'm fast, I can have that one be like a 1 minute video, just boom, 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 boom. Um, so that'll be cool. And that's, again, like a powerful, useful tool I use a lot. And it's quite different. So it can be combined with um, be combined with the movers method, or you can use it like somewhat independently and just kind of run that. And then like if it works, excellent. And I mean, really, like, they should be like this, right? Because the movers method is much more like a framework for thinking about injuries than it's like a do this and then this. Um, but so you can kind of take that framework and like the principles from that framework and just apply it to like the 2 hour rehab method and like do that very, very quickly and simply versus like, especially the full movers method is much more like involved and intensive. So like they're different, right? Like the 2 hour rehab method is more like yeah, it's like how about this? So like a cinematography example. It's like a cell phone camera, It's like it's quite good, and boom, like you got it in your pocket, you whip it out, you start recording, and you got a video, right? The movers method is like a red cinema camera, like so you can't just whip it out, right? Like it's a big thing, and not to the same degree. You hit the power button, it's going to take a minute just to turn on. You got to go through all the settings. You got to figure out which thing you want. Recording raw, right? And then you record in log, so you've got to convert the log. But like it comes out of that, and it's like this beautiful image, and it's like very flexible. So like it can work in a lot of scenarios that like your phone could never capture well, right? Um, that's kind of the analogy between the two. Like the movers method is more complex, takes longer, but it's more powerful and catches a lot of the shortcomings in the areas where other things weren't working. Versus like the 2 hour rehab method is like very fast, very quick, effective, but like there are going to be times where you need to take a step back, go through like the whole movers method and like figure more of that out because something isn't working, right? Um, yeah, so the programming video, and here's the thing, like the thing is, I think, and one of the things that I don't know how much you guys realize is like these videos for me are also like because I take them so seriously. For me, there are also times to like really dive into whatever topic I'm doing the video about. So like for the programming video and for the volume video, like I'm not just gonna like it's not just me like writing the stuff I know, like blah, 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 blah. Like I'm also like researching and like checking and double checking and like reading like what is everyone saying? What is like before what was it for what video did I do this for? For the first Ido Portal video, like the most important thing I learned for Ido Portal. Um, Before I had just kind of like taken Ido's word for granted, like okay, like that's kind of how we do it. Makes sense, works for me. I try it, it works for me, great. But before I put the video out, I'm like, that's not good enough, and like I waited a long time until I actually like I was taking a kinesiology class, and for the final paper, we had to like choose something to write about. And so I wrote about overtraining so that I could do a whole review on like overtraining and figure out like, because if I'm going to talk about how you can do tons of training to like make progress like this, like I need to understand overtraining better first. I don't want to be like, you know, putting you guys in a dark place when research is suggesting that that's not a good idea, like if it is. And so it was then after I read through all of those studies that then I was like, okay, let me make this video, you know. Uh, and I think I barely mentioned it. I just mentioned it like near the end of that video. I was like paradoxical deconditioning syndrome, but like that was by far the bulk of the work for that video was like doing all that research. So for the programming video, one of the things I'm thinking is I also want to review and read all the research on like um, volume and yeah, like dose responsive volume for training. And so before, I've heard a lot of things from different experts and I've got my own ideas based on those. But before I put out like a public video for you guys, I want to really like like fucking interview these people myself and or two, um, read the primary sources myself, and like really, because there's a different layer of understanding you get when you read it yourself, especially like not the reviews, but like the actual studies. Um, yeah, so I think I need to do that anyway for the programming video. So maybe that means I make the volume video first, or maybe I make the volume video part of the programming video. I think that's probably what I'll do. Maybe volume should be part of the programming video. Yeah, or maybe not. Maybe it'd be. We'll see. I don't know. What do you guys think? Should volume think about a video like how much should you train versus another video like um, how should you program your training like, for movers? Like would you prefer that all be in the programming video, or would you prefer like volume video first and then programming video and just quickly mention the volume video within that? What do you guys think? What would you prefer? I know we've only got two people here, and but I guess I'm asking the two of you. Hmm. And I'm not sure if I'll leave the stream up, but anyone that sees this later, you want to message me? Yeah. Okay, cool. Do we have who's our other person that's still here? Do you want to leave a comment? What do you think? And while and if that's happening, do we have any other questions? Okay, I'll give it a little bit. Yeah. Okay. Cool. Yeah. Yeah. Watch it. Let me know. I feel like I didn't do a good job with like the thumbnail for that video or the title or something like I didn't do a good job of like getting people interested in the topic somehow. But like yeah, like it's such a powerful video, such a powerful tool, you know. Um, yeah, this imagery is incredible, incredibly useful tool. So yeah, check it out and enjoy. And take care, guys. Thanks for joining me here. It's been fun, and we'll see if we do this again.